Than Dominique Leroy.
Thank you, Hannes, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm really happy to be here in my new capacity of board member Europe. And I'm sure you remember, 3 years ago, Srini was standing here and was talking about turning around Europe. I can tell you that today, I'm very proud to say that the turnaround has been done and that we are today a leading large-scale European telco and on top of it, a very fast-growing European telco. So the whole challenge we have today is how do we write the next chapter? How do we accelerate that growth? And what we want to do is really go to long-term sustainable growth by focusing on customer centricity and on digitalization. We have opportunity in the B2C area. We want to scale fiber. We want to upsell customers in fixed mobile convergence, grow revenue per household. We want to improve customer service even further. We want to grow in B2B. There are several markets where on B2B you have still lots of opportunity, and we will grasp that because we will also converge telco and ICT product in the European region. Next to that, people are very important to me. We want to scale agile organization, customer-centric mindset. I will talk about network, how we will scale fiber, how we will bring 5G. And a very important element for us as well is how do we scale digitization and where do we go from where we are to the next step in digitization. One element which for me is a very important one, and I would probably not have said that 3 years ago, I think today the telecom operators that will be very successful going forwards are the ones that are multi-country. We are able, with digitization coming up, with cloudification coming up, to really scale across the countries. And that will give us a very strong advantage versus local players. We will be able to get best practice from one country to another, scale or digital infrastructure, scale cloudification, and that will give us way faster speed to market than competitors. A last element which I will come upon is very much how Europe will bring a fair share and a fair value to DT equity. We have been growing, we will continue to grow and accelerate growth. We have a very strong cash conversion and we want to accelerate that as well. And on top of it, you will see that ROCE is a quite nice evolution as well. So let's start with a review over the last 4 years. If you look at that, I mean, these are the figures of 2020. We are an 11 billion turnover European telco if you look at the region as a standalone region. We deliver almost 4 billion EBITDA, close to 2 billion cash. If you take those figures in a standalone European landscape, we would be around the 7th biggest telco in Europe, far ahead of Iliad, of KPN, of Telia. But on top of it, we are one of the fastest growing telco. If you see some figures here, even with 1 year of COVID in the 4 years, and COVID, you know, has impacted quite a lot the European segment because you have a lot of countries like Greece, Croatia, that have had quite a loss of revenue and profit in terms of roaming and visitor. But despite that, we have been able to get a 2.3% EBITDA growth over the period and a 3.9% cash growth over the period. So I think a tremendous prestation of the EU segment, and somewhere I think something is not always well known or known enough in the community, and I think we should really reconsider Europe as a key engine for growth within DT. If we look at the market, because then sometimes you could say, you know, the European markets are not very healthy markets. I would just say it's the opposite. If you look at our market, we have quite a lot of growth potential. If you look at the expected consumer spend on telco market, it's around 3.5% going forward, a very strong potential growth. If you look at the structure of our market, most of our market are 3 MNOs markets, where we can indeed further drive growth. Only 2 of them are 4 MNOs, which is Poland and Romania. We also, today, very much more than before, we have regulation and we have government that are really looking at how can we faster digitalize those countries. If you look at the DESI index in Europe, we are currently, in the countries we are in, relatively below the median, with the exception of Austria. So we see that quite a lot of political will is there to further drive infrastructure rollout, to further drive digitization, and we will get around 20 billion of EU funds that will come into the DT EU footprint. So I think all those elements should give you confidence that the EU segment is growing, is big, and has quite a lot of growth potential going forward. But let's look at what we have achieved over the last 3 years. You see here 13 quarters of growth in a row. Growth coming from around 1/3 net margin growth, 2/3 reduction of costs. I will go one by one through those parameters. If we look at the revenue, it is both value and volume. Very important, and you see the acceleration over the last year. The value has been achieved by upselling customer on the mobile, but also, pushing the fixed mobile convergence, and the volume, you see here a few figures, 2.5 million new extra mobile contract customer, and close to 1 million broadband customer. On the cost side, I think it's quite impressive what has been done on the cost side. We have been able to reduce IDC by 320 million. So a 30% IDC percentage on revenue, which I think is close to best in class, but you will see we will not stop there. We will go further. We have done that through some reduction of people, quite a lot, 6,000 people less in 2020 versus 2017, but that has been very much by downsizing central function, outsourcing some non-core activity, and a bit of digitization, but that's where I think we can still grow further if we look at the future. Another thing we have been doing, and Tim has highlighted it, we have been able to put 1 new home passed in fiber in 2020. It was the first year that we have been able to get to this number, but our intention is really to go forward with that number. And you see here some figures, 22% coverage, which is quite significant, but what's for me is even more important, it's not just home passed, it is homes connected. The homes connected, 30% utilization of our network, 1.7 million homes connected on fiber already in our footprints. So if you look at then all the promise that were done back in 2018, I'm very proud to say that we have delivered. All measures are green, being measures on the customer side, the consumer sides, the business sides, and the financials. I have highlighted most of them, so I think we can really be proud of what has been achieved in Europe. So let's look together now how we move forward from here. Strategy 21-24. A few elements, and Hannes highlighted to it. It is really moving from good to great. And we want to do that by a few elements, keeping a fast-growing telco with a customer-centric and digital focus, winning the hearts and minds of customers, even going further than just a good customer service. It is winning hearts and minds. Truly converge fixed mobile convergence in every market we are in. Drive further digital, as we have a very strong basis. Change the organization to an even more lean and agile organization, And last but not least, move our brand from a rather functional brand into a territory where I would call it love brands, but I will come on that later. We'll do that around 6 levers for growth. I will not go in details on this one, but immediately jump into the B2C elements. Where we are today, I think very strong growth in number of subscribers on all our products and a quite strong FMC. 51% of our broadband base is already fixed mobile convergence. If we look then at the future, I mean, what we want to do is further drive fixed mobile convergence value, but also capture underserved segments. So the fiber build-out we will do, the 1 million additional fiber a year, will really help us to boost broadband penetration. From there, the strategy is to really cross-sell and upsell, get several multi-mobile customers onto our broadband, upsell on TV, but also upsell potentially on new services coming down the line. The second bucket for growth in the B2C is very much capturing all the segments. So we are running segmentation study in all our footprint, and from there we are really looking how can we capture also the young generation, be relevant with propositions for the young generation, but also look where relevant to either reshape or introduce a second brand where we can really tap into the smart shopper segment. That will help us to drive new customers and then being able to upsell them to the Magenta NT proposition. Customer centricity. Best customer experience, or very second pillar. We have a lot of customers. We want that those customers are really happy and loyal customers. We want to reduce churn further than we do today. For that, we will really drive a customer-centric organization. We will also make sure that we implement a tool which is called Medallia in all the footprint. It will be rolled out this year. From there, we will really get a lot of information on every interaction we have with our customers. From those knowledge, we will be able to identify what are the pain points, and we will then be able to really reallocate resources and capex to make sure that we tackle the pain points that are really hindering the most our customer experience. And last but not least, we really want to implement the customer journey mentality in the organization and process in the organization by really being end-to-end, really looking at end-to-end experience for customer, doing that also across all the channels, knowing that, of course, we want to push more digital channel, but we will making sure that both digital and human touch are centric to our customer interaction. I touched upon it in the intro, the love brand. So the love brand for me is really how can we, with our T brand, convey digital optimism to the countries? How can we turn employees and customers into our brand ambassador? And also, how can we bring the brand in a much more emotional territory where people are really attracted by the brand, and therefore we will be able to fish in a much bigger pool of customers that would come to Magenta NT brand. That's all the major pillar of growth on the B2C that should translate in those metrics. So we want to further grow significantly our 6.6 billion consumer business. We want at least to have net adds share in line with our fair share. And to be honest, in countries where we are not significantly dominant or incumbent, we want to even grow these net adds. We want everywhere to grow value market share, and we want to deliver a 1 to 2% net margin growth. You also see on the right side everything, our targets on fixed mobile convergence. We want to grow by around 10% a year to at least 4 million fixed mobile convergence, driving value and driving RGU per household. Let's go to B2B. In B2B, we have already realized quite some good growth. ICT is within Europe, so that's probably not always known to investor, that the full T system is in the NatCo, in the EU NatCo. So we go to customer with a full package of connectivities and digital solution. We have been able to grow our ICT product by around 7% a year to more than 1 billion, and we have done that with a strong focus on profitable growth. So you see there as well our ability to grow net margin in the B2B by around 2% over the last 3 years. Next to that, you know, there is always a very important element in terms of competence, in terms of skills. So we are organizing ourselves to have competence center in the B2B area to really drive the knowledge on our products across the region. And last but not least, I think we have done quite a lot of good work on the IoT and on the smart city, where we are rolling out smart city in several of our countries. If we look forwards, I mean, we want to continue the growth in the B2B, focusing very much on the different segments and accompanying our customers into their own digitization. So we want to become the partner of digitization in the B2B area. If you look at the public sector, it's all about driving further digitization of public sector, also using EU funds, because a lot of countries are running new projects based on those funds to digitalize faster the administration and the country. But we also want to bring quite a lot of value in the enterprise segment. We will there focus on smart connectivity, SD1, unified communication collaboration, but also tapping into the hybrid cloud space and bringing security into our portfolio. And on the small and medium businesses, I think there is also a very different way of driving business there. It will be very much through Magenta bundles, where we bring connectivity and digital solution in packages to small and medium company with service on top, and therefore scale their ability to tap into the digital domain for their business to become more successful. If we look how that translates in figures, we want to add a 300 million additional revenue into the B2B segment. I think there is a very strong opportunity still in 3 countries, and those countries are the biggest in terms of footprint in B2B. I mean Austria, Czech, and Poland, and these are 3 countries where we are still a bit small, so there is still a big growth potential there. And as I already said, we want to further grow with a healthy margin, so our objective is to deliver 2% net margin in B2B as well. If we move to people, I think people is very important. I already said it. It's all about attracting the right talent, having international and diverse scope, having organizations that are lean and agile, and very much having a culture which is very customer-centric. And you see a few elements there. We really want to become top employers in the country we are in. We are also a big players in most of the country we are in, so we also want to really take ownership for our impact on society and bring positive impact on society. We want to do that on digital inclusion. We have a lot of programs running in the countries to see how we can bring digital and STEM to the youth, but also how we can include more the elderly people in the digital space. We also have a lot of program on environment alongside the whole DT objective by reducing our CO2, reducing or increasing our energy efficiency, and making sure we also have more recycling, less waste. So quite a strong program on those elements as well. Let me come to network, because I think network is a very important element. We have already done quite a bit on network. We have currently 98% coverage on LTE. We have already 22% on fiber, but we want to go further. If we see here, we want to become the undisputed fiber leader in our footprint. We want to do that by rolling out fiber in several countries. And why do we do that? Because we think fiber has very good economics in our country. We have been able to roll out fiber in 2020 for less than 400 euro per home passed. So that gives us quite good TCO and quite good payback on fiber. So our objective is to really further roll out fiber. We will complement that with partnership. You have countries where there is already quite a lot of fiber, for instance, like Poland. That country, we will not try to overbuild with fiber. I think that would not be very sensitive and sensible to do that. We will do a whole buy with people that have already deployed fiber. So we will have a hybrid model about own fiber rollout, but also partnering where it makes sense. Our objective is to have 40% coverage of fiber. We have an objective of 10 million owned fiber. We will complement that by 4 to 5 million fiber that we'll buy in whole buy deals. Our utilization rate will even increase to 33%, where we will then have at least 3 million households connected to fiber. So quite a strong program on the fiber. On the mobile, we are very often mobile leader in the country we are in. We want to stay mobile leader. So we will further roll out 5G. We have already secured spectrum in a lot of our countries. So most of the country, we have been able to buy 5G spectrum. We will deploy 5G along the renewal cycle of our RAN and our radio units. We will make sure that we stay ahead of competition. We have an objective of 75% coverage for 5G, but we will also make sure that we retire the 3G to increase capacity for 4G and 5G, but we also very much focus on monetization of fiber. Monetization of 5G, excuse me. We will do that by putting the 5G where there is capacity needs. We will do that where we'll put 5G in some rural area where we'll be able to bring fixed mobile substitutions or fixed wireless access to customers, but we will also monetize 5G in the B2B area with campus network, with further scaling IoT. One of the very last but strong pillars of growth is everything around digital. I mean, we have been able over the past year to really build an impressive digital factory. And I can say it because I tried to build that in my former job. I can tell you I have been very much impressed by what has been built in the EU segment in terms of architecture. We have a harmonized API layer where we can connect with all the countries. So serving 10 countries and hopefully quickly 11 countries and even 12 countries when the Netherlands and Germany will try to move into the same platform. On top of that, we have really been able to build new type of application, new type of platform, which are state of the art and where we build them once and we expose them to all the countries. But instead of speaking quite long here in front of you on that chapter, I propose we just watch the video and see together what has been done and how we want to move forwards with that one.
Our IT approach in our 10 European NatCos was decentralized and fragmented. We took this opportunity to leverage our multi-country strategy through a centrally developed experience ecosystem, one XP of products, capabilities, and platforms. The foundation of our borderless ecosystem is our harmonized set of APIs and microservices connected to various NatCo systems. We have scaled these white-labeled solutions across the countries, where they are adapted to the local needs. Using this foundation, our in-house team built multi-instance products like One App, One Shop, One Broadband, One TV, One Campaign, and One Mind. Today, this experience ecosystem powers 30% of new products and services activations. Customers are served with over 1.3 billion banner impressions that provide personalized recommendations. So far, we have processed over 1.2 billion euros in payments on our highly rated and trusted platforms, where we enjoy a 20% higher NPS. With this experience ecosystem, we improved time to market, simplified our systems while providing our customers with a better digital experience. Let us walk through some of the core pillars of our 1XP ecosystem. One app, now used by over 60% of our customers every month, enables business and private customers to do everything from adding or making changes to their services, paying their bills, prolonging their contracts, monitoring their data usage, to accessing parental controls for their routers. Our television service provides best-in-class hardware with an emotionally engaging design on a cloud TV platform, providing our customers with a seamless content discovery and integration. Our broadband utilizes the RDK framework to deliver the best internet experience with Wi-Fi 6, mesh extenders, cybersecurity, and tri-band hardware. With our digital platforms, we are now enabling complex interactions and centrally aided customer journeys. We are now reimagining our services from basic and reactive to predictive and proactive, while setting the foundations to provide a seamless home experience and even go beyond the core. Our experience ecosystem will allow us to connect with our customers in a unique and personalized way in this digital age. The best is yet to come.
So I think quite a strong video that really explain you what we have done, but also what platforms we have to build the future. So let me go quickly through some of the elements. The first one was everything around digital telco. You've seen it's the one app, it's how you manage your products, your contract, how you do payments. But from there, you can imagine to build a lot more services in there. And that's really a route that we'll be looking at. The second pillar was everything around broadband. We have one firmware for all the countries, so it means that we can get quite some advantage in procurement. On top of it, we have the RDK layer, which enable us to build a lot of services on top of that. You've seen some of them, parental control, guest Wi-Fi, but from there, you can imagine that you can build a lot of different home solutions on that platform. If we look at TV, the same. One firmware for Europe, building on the Android IPTV platform, and from there, you are able to really get one of the best UI, aggregated content, voice, search engine, which are harmonized and where we can really offer all our customers state-of-the-art content viewing. And the last bit is also a very important one. All these new digital platforms have been built with one data lake where we are able to store a lot of data from the way our systems are working with our customers. From there, we are able, through data analytics, through AI, to really see what are potential problems, and we can do predictive maintenance, predictive action, so that we are really increasing the satisfaction of the customer because we avoid a lot of fault. But on top of that, it's a way to drastically reduce the cost, and that's what you see as well here on the slide, that our ambition going forwards is to further decrease cost on the call, on the truck rolls, increase the number of transactions in the app, and also have a first-time right provisioning above 95%. These are all elements that are now possible thanks to that digital layer and in 10 countries in one go, which is quite amazing. Last but not least, we can try to do the same in now the network piece. I mean, we said already a few times, I say it again, Claudia will come on that a bit more in details tomorrow, but we are able to further modernize our IT structure and our network. We want to simplify the way we work, we want to simplify our legacy, but we also want to simplify further our portfolio and our business rules to be able to automate more and also get some more benefits. And the same is true on cloud. The more we will put on cloud, the more we will be able to harmonize, and to automate. This should bring us to around 42% workload in the cloud by 2024, another 300 million reduction in costs, and other elements like 4 of our NatCo that will already be on 5G standalone by 2024. A last topic I wanted to highlight with you is everything which is about capital allocation and portfolio. There has been quite a lot of work that has been done to strengthen our portfolio. We have gone out of several geographies. You see here Albania has still been done, and we are in the process of closing the deal with Orange to sell our fixed business in Romania. That has enabled us to reinforce ourselves in other countries where we needed more capital. The first one, which is a very important one, is the merge we have done with UPC in Austria. Through that, we have been able to bring our EBITDA margin from a 34% to above 40%, thanks to a lot of synergies, both in cost and in revenue. In Poland, as I said, we have been able to sign wholesale deals, mainly with Orange, but also with several small players, where we now have access to more than 4 million fiber households. And as from beginning of this year, we are really accelerating the fixed mobile conversion strategy into the country. And you probably have seen that in the first quarter, we have already been able to have several thousands of new FMC customers in the country. And last but not least, Czech will be a bit of a hybrid model. We will roll out fiber ourselves. We have done some small M&A, but we will also do partnership deal, because in Czech there is not so much fiber in the ground. We still need to build it, but we will build it together with some partner, like the agreement we have done with Cetin to exchange some fiber build-out, which give us further access to fiber going forwards. All that very disciplined capital allocation and capital management has enabled us to significantly increase our return on capital employed. You see here 3 basis points extra on the ROCE between 2017 and 2020. If we look forward, I really believe that we can still further improve ROCE, further decrease costs, and further grow, mainly because we have a lot of synergies. I come back to what I say in the beginning. I really believe in the power of multi-country synergies in the new era we are entering. We need, of course, a culture that allows that. We have built the next chapter strategy together with the country, and there is a strong willingness to go there. We see that we can have competence center which serve the whole region. We have, for instance, 300 people in our digital lab in India helping us drive the digitization. We have this data lake where we have common data analytics, AI model that serve the whole region. We are able to develop products, develop capability once. We roll it out to countries. We are fostering today a lot of exchanges of best practice within the country. We deploy playbook whereby we do it in one country and then we see how we can have repeatable models in other countries. I think all that should really change a bit the game going forwards and really enable telco to drive more synergy, more speeds to market, more cost reduction in a multi-country approach. So that's then my last slides before we come to the ambition level. I hope at least, I've been able to convince you that Europe is probably a bit an unknown or under-evaluated jewel within the DT footprint, that we are strongly growing, that we are strong in execution, we are growing in customer, we are very strong in cost reduction, we have a highly digital infrastructure we can leverage, we have strengthened our portfolio, we are investing a lot into fiber, we are investing in 5G, we have secured the spectrum in most of the country at very good conditions. We still have a few countries to go, but we also think that we will be able to get spectrum at very decent price. So this all enable us to continue to grow. We have 13 quarters of growth behind. We want to further grow, and we commit to a higher figure than on the last CMD. We want to have an EBITDA growth between 1.5% and 2.5%. We have a very strong cash generation, and I think that's very powerful, that we will even increase going forwards to 57% of EBITDA. With a stable CapEx, it will give us a cash growth of around 4 to 6%, so quite a significant number. And for the first time this year, in 2021, we will have a return on capital employed that will be superior of the weighted average cost of capital of the region, and we will further grow into ROCE going forward. So I think a quite strong region, a quite strong segment that have proven to be able to do the turnaround, when I'm very convinced we will be able to further deliver growth and deliver value for DT. If you look at our commitment, but I think I've been through most of them during the presentation, we have strong commitment in terms of customer centricity, in terms of network. We have strong commitment into financials. We want to have a revenue growth above 1%. We want to have EBITDA growth between 1.5% and 2.5%. We will further reduce IDC by 300 million. Our cash capex will be stable, even though we want to continue to grow fiber and 5G. We will reprioritize the capex, and we have a ROCE that will be higher than the WACC. So this is my story for Europe. I hope that I've been able to convince you about the power and the growth ambition of Europe, and I was very happy to be able to bring that story to you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dominique. I think Europe is just a fascinating story, really. And when I think about it, and if we really look at it in isolation, it really strikes me as one of Europe's most attractive telecoms operators. Size and the level of digitization, the level of network penetration with fiber, and the growth. And so I think that a lot of it is really, it all stacks up, really. And with that, we come to Q&A. We start with George. I can see you. George, the man from Greece, or rather the little island next to it. Okay. So, George, can we have your question?
Perfect. Thank you. I have two questions, maybe. The first one is around portfolio optimization. And obviously, you are now in the process of exiting the fixed line in Romania, but you still have a mobile operation that's a bit subscale. Also, I think from your businesses, maybe Poland, the returns are not as good as some other countries. And I think you have some issues maybe with the vendor changes that may come in that market. So if you can run us through how you're thinking about other actions you can take around returns in some of these markets and where your focus is in terms of optimization. And then my second question is on the European Recovery Fund. I'm guessing for all of these countries, this could be a major event. If you could perhaps give us an idea of the scale, also where you think you're well placed to win some of these projects and actually benefit from that. And then finally, if we can get an idea of what the bottom line impact is, because it's hard for us to know if these digitalization projects are high cash flow projects for telco, or whether a lot of it ends up being lower gross margin revenue flows. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Giorgio, for your questions. So I think, yes, Romania, we are exiting the fixed business. We are selling it to Orange. We will keep the mobile business. I think we have proven, certainly in the Netherlands, that we are able to grow and to manage an attacker position on the mobile segment. So for the time being, when the closing will be done, we are currently preparing a plan to really see how we can further scale the mobile and have a position which will more be an attacker position in the Romanian market, but that's currently where we are in Romania. Concerning Poland, I think, Poland, we have a strong position. I mean, some people say we are the number 4 on the market, but we are the number 4 with 20%. So it means everybody is relatively close to each other. I think what we are currently missing in Poland is indeed this fixed mobile convergence opportunity, but we are really building it. We have now the whole buy deal that has been finalized with several partners. We are starting to have communications on the market to really try to scale it. So I think Poland is a country which for me is still a very great opportunity where we can further grow, and it will be one of the growth engine going forwards in the region, where we want to, of course, keep and increase our mobile positioning, but also complement it with a strong FMC positioning. Concerning operators and supplier, this is something we need to discuss when there will be the auction will come, and then when the government will decide about their Cyber Act. So I think it's too early to give any indication on supplier in the country. So your second question, I think, was on the European Recovery Funds. I think there, it's a big opportunity, and as Srini said, we don't want to oversell it because the funds are there. But in every country, we are now going through a process where we have to apply for some funds. I think Greece is probably one of the countries where it's most advanced. So we will definitely use some of the funds to build infrastructure, to further build fiber in more remote areas. That's currently ongoing, but we are also certainly in Greece looking at using that, and not only in Greece, in the B2B area, where we have strong position, like in Hungary, like in Slovakia, Greece, even Croatia. These are all countries where we are former incumbent, or B2B position is quite substantial. And when you talk about digitization, there is quite a lot of opportunity to partner with public sector and further drive digitization. So that's certainly one of our key elements in growing in the B2B area, next to the 3 countries I have highlighted, where I think we can still grow even a lot in the enterprise market, because we are subscaled. Your last one is the bottom line impact on the digitization project. It's difficult to say. What I would say is that probably 2/3 of the IDC savings will come from digitization and waste reduction. So it's quite significant. We are looking at 300 million IDC reduction going forwards, and ballpark, I think 2/3 of that reduction should come from digitization. But for me, digitization is not only a tool to reduce costs, it's also very much a tool to enhance customers' experience. And that's great about digitization, because you really can do two things at the same time. You improve your customer experience, and you decrease costs by decreasing waste. And I think that's really what we want to do going forwards with our digitization opportunity.
Great. Well, thank you, Dominique. And the next question is from Charlotte. Hello, Charlotte. Good to see you.
Hi. My question is around competitive dynamics and competitive intensity. Would you provide some more colour on the markets where you see competitive intensity particularly increasing or decreasing? And I suppose it builds on the first part of George's question as well. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I think as I put it forwards, we have most of our market are 3 MNOs markets, so where you have, of course, quite high competitive intensity in all markets. I think you also have a lot of markets where the ARPU is still very low. So I see that personally today as an opportunity, because what you see as well in a lot of markets is a huge demand from consumer and from enterprise for more data, more capacity, more coverage. So there is competitive dynamic, but there is also a huge potential to increase the value of the market. So I think somewhere it is relatively healthy competition. It's competition to serve customer with more product, more capacity. Where you see more intense competition is typically Romania. That's probably also one of the reasons why we have decided to sell the fixed business, and because if we would need to compete there, we would probably have to put quite a lot of money in upgrading our fixed network. The ARPU is relatively low, is still low, with DG being an operator which is quite aggressive on the market. So there we have decided indeed to move out of the country to be able to invest in other. You could say Poland could be also more intensive because Play has just been bought by Iliad, but so far we have not seen any increase in competition. I think there as well everybody is looking how can we further bring fiber to the country, how can we further bring high-speed internet in the country, and it's, I think, again, more a healthy competition on trying to serve the customers on the next step. So I think all in all, the markets are relatively healthy, with strong potential for growth as the ARPU is low, the demand is high, and the regulator and the government are now more and more looking into digitization of service, rolling out of infrastructure as an important way for them to be recognized as good leader. So it's not anymore getting money out of the auction or out of the industry. It's much more trying to roll out better infrastructure, better service to serve their customers or their citizens better. And I think we can now really play on that and get value out of that in most of the countries. So I'm very optimistic about the potential of the European segment.
Excellent. And then we have one more question from Jacob. Jacob, good to see you.
Good to see you. Hey, guys. I had actually two very short questions, if that's okay. Firstly, just on the revenue growth side, you're guiding for 1% revenue growth, which is very similar to what you did over the previous 3 years, even though you've got what I take as a reasonably sizable tailwind from roaming. So can you maybe just give a little bit of context on the revenue guidance, which looks a little bit conservative? And then just secondly, I'd be interested in just hearing your thinking around tower ownership in the region. Is that something that you're a bit more flexible on, and that's perhaps one of the ways where you could relatively easily drive up your ROCEs in the region? Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you, Jacob, for the question. I think on revenue, it's true that roaming it has impacted us in 2020, 130 million, so it's quite significant. We will, of course, have some tailwind from that this year and probably next year. But next to that, we also have quite a lot of MTR cuts, which are still coming in as from mid of July this year. I don't think it's such an impact because it's in percentage high, but in the value it's relatively low. But that's anyhow something which will impact a bit the service revenue. And the guidance is on 4 years. So, we have always a tendency, and DT, but also myself, to try to really deliver against the guidance to make sure that we potentially even over-deliver. And we have a 4-year period. So I think for the next 2 years, we should probably be a bit better. But going forwards, we have to be prudent and see what happens in the market. So around 1%, I think, is a very decent figures, and we will do everything we can to over-deliver on that. On tower ownership, I think it's a good question. We have done a tower co in Austria, but what I think, and we can look at other countries, and perhaps you'll hear a bit more about that tomorrow. I don't want to reveal too much today. I'll leave something for Torsten to tell you. But everything we will do towards DT tower co. So it could be a way to improve ROCE and ever, but it will not be a leverage that we will do to third party. I think the strategy of DT is really to build a strong tower co internally with DT Funkturm. And so if we do a carve out of tower in Europe, it will be to DT Funkturm, and then we will see as a group what we will do with our tower assets. So we will not start to do some individual tower carve out to third party in Europe.
Great. Thank you, Dominique. Before I let you go, maybe one question from me. Now that you have, of course, you worked you ran Proximus before, and so I just wanted to see how does it feel to, work in Deutsche Telekom in this group? I mean, is that and how to work in the European portfolio? Any impressions that you can share?
No, I think it's very different. I think DT is, of course, a much bigger group. What I've been impressed, it's that DT is a very diverse and international company, probably much more than people sense when you look at it from the outside. So I think it's a much more international and diverse culture. And I think in Europe, I think it's very much a hidden jewel. I think Europe is a great asset. There is not a lot of publication, so it's difficult to follow, I guess, as analyst or investor. But when I am here and looking at the country, I think there is a lot of potential. And I think DT is so well placed with its transatlantic foot in the US, foot in Europe. And in Europe, there is a lot of focus on Germany, but there are a lot of other countries. And I think when we will be able to get even more scale and more harmonization within the European footprint, it is really a base from which I think we can really deliver growth and even potential further growth going forward.
Acceleration. Okay, yes. Very good. So thank you very much, Dominique.
Thank you, Hannes.
And that brings us to the last session of this Capital Markets Day.